Villains, my name is Josh, and today I am introducing you guys to another artist that we believe you should know in 2024. This band is based out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. I've got the entire band here, which is a rare occurrence, but I'm very happy to be joined by the entirety of the band called Nine Realms. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having us.
Almost in unison. That's great. That's
we practiced.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, you guys did. You guys nailed it. So what we're gonna do is just kind of go around, introduce you guys yourself, tell us how you guys, what you guys play in the bands, and then we'll jump in to talk about Nine Realms.
Right on. Go ahead, big boy. You first.
All right. Well, my name is Nick. Play guitar. Founding member with Mr. John Stiers over there. Yeah. Who's next? You, Donnie.
That is I, Donnie Doss, vocals. I've been in a band with Tommy over there and John about 20 years ago, and this is a new and improved version here with our boy Brandon joining up, and Nick we've known forever too, so it's kind of like the good old days starting all over again.
I'm Brandon. Oh, go ahead, John.
I can't see anybody, so I don't know what order we're in. Yeah, but anyway, I'm John, man. I've been on and off doing this thing for 20 some odd years, and I wasn't playing for a long time, and Nick kicked my ass into gear, and we got to jamming for a while, and next thing you know, we're doing way more than I ever anticipated. But I've been playing guitar with these guys in and out of this band for a long time. So
I'm Brandon. I'm from Nebraska originally. I used to tour in Trump with the Harlot, and then I was toured for Shadows Fall as a fill-in drummer for a couple tours. I did that for 4 or 5 years, and then kind of got away from music, and then these guys brought me back to it.
And I'm Tommy Doss, and I play bass.
So for those of you guys that I'm kind of curious, because typically a lot of the bands that I've had the pleasure of sitting down with over the years are fairly younger bands, so that maybe have been active for 2 to 5 years. For a band that is hitting almost the 20-year mark collectively between all of you guys, can you talk about how you've seen the music change over that time, and how has that affected the way that you guys approach writing music, creating live shows, and more?
Who wants it?
Would you say, are you asking like music in general or like our sound?
It's particularly like you guys' sound and how you write music, how you approach it. Is it different than it was 20 years ago? Is it kind of the same?
I think I can speak pretty evenly for everybody, but I feel like we kind of have hit a sound of like an early 2000s kind of vibe, much more. We don't do a lot of open chord breakdowns or this brie, type of.
I can't squeal. Sorry, guys.
New wave stuff. That's not really our flow, man. We like groove. We like crunchiness. We like guitar solos. So that kind of era of music, I would say, is kind of our sweet spot. But
yeah, and real briefly, so this band, the 5 of us anyway, I think, what are we, about 3 years in together, guys? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like I said, me, John, and Tommy were in a death metal band about 20 years ago. So definitely a different style of music there, but you can see a little bit all the elements. And then Brandon was in more like the metalcore stuff back in the day too. So I think there's a nice mix of everything. But yeah, you can tell, the overall sound in metal in general has changed. Like Nick said, the open chord is a popular one, and everybody's shooting for breakdowns and stuff. We're a little bit more old school, straight ahead, classic metal type of vibe.
One thing I've seen is won't throw their name out, but there was a band we were on tour with once that was heavily reliant on computers and electronics, and like something happened with their laptop, and like they had to stop in the middle of their set like 3 or 4 times, and it pretty big show. And so I've seen more bands become more reliant on like MIDI files and backtracks and stuff like that, which I'm not saying that's good, bad, or anything either way, but it is something I've noticed where, like, earlier on, at least when I first started playing, that was not a thing, and now I feel like there's quite a bit of that.
Yeah, we don't write much differently than we used to, I don't think, as individuals, but you know how it is. I mean, you get a bunch of different individuals together. It just depends on the mix of who's doing what. You know, you kind of got to adapt to each other's abilities and each other's kind of tastes, and everybody kind of vibes different, no matter whether or not you're in the same band before or not. You know, it's, once you get everybody together, you kind of just mesh and figure out a way that works for everybody. So
Frankenstein it.
One of the common things that I've heard you guys kind of talk about in your experience in music is hanging it up and coming back. So for you guys, what is it about the passion or the creativity or even the energy of a live show that makes you guys walk away but ultimately end up coming back?
I was just getting old, man.
Yeah, right.
Getting old. Everybody's got a full-time job.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of lose the motivation at some point in your life, which is kind of like what happened to me. You know, I was like, it's just didn't pan out. I mean, when I first started doing this, I was thinking I didn't have a job for a long time, for like a year, because I was on the road with different bands. Like, this is what I was going to do. But I learned real quick that that wasn't the life for me. I can barely sleep in a comfortable bed, let alone a van with 6 stinky dudes. And, you know, it just didn't pan out. So, I mean, I just kind of did it for fun locally for a long time after that. But, you know, it's tough when you're, unless you're making money and you're willing to put in the crazy amount of effort and time to be at a point to play this type of music and be able to be comfortable financially is it's a lot more dedication than I have personally.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked away for a while just because I moved down to, well, oddly enough, down to Richmond, where it's a pretty much popping scene now. But just kind of started my life, you know, got married, had a child, all that stuff, and the room for it, like John said, just kind of runs out at some point. But the reason we all keep coming back is, you know, it's something I think we're all pretty good at and obviously love to do, right? For me, you know, the studio is fun and having, you know, albums and everything is nice to listen to, and you can show, you know, your kids in the future and all that. But the fun for me is always live jams. So whether that's practice or obviously playing a show, like, it's just the energy and being able to be, you know, let your creativity out in this form is what I'm here for. So can't stay away from it. As long as I can keep doing it, you know, might as well. It's a there's not many hobbies I can think of that are going to be more fun, you know, or fulfilling than cranking out some good tunes. So
I think I had a misconception when I was younger. I was like, man, if you're going to play in a metal band, it's, you know, it's that or nothing. And like, you're either making enough money to pay bills or you shouldn't be doing it at all. Or at least I didn't want to do it at all. And I mean, it was right place, right time, but I was doing the tours with Shadows Fall and God Forbid, and some of those dudes were really good at mentoring. And I saw real quickly that like a lot of those guys have day jobs, or like the scene, even at their level, ebbs and flows. And sometimes they're doing really well. And like sometimes, to no fault of their own, the scene is just tough, man. It's tough to get people to come out to shows and stuff. So I think after those experiences, I was like, oh, okay, like it doesn't have to be this is what's paying my bills. There is kind of a medium ground where you can get out there and do it for fun, but still be passionate about it.
And there's almost I was just gonna say there's almost kind of like a humbling factor in kind of seeing that side of music. That's not a point that a lot of people talk about very often.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tommy.
For me, I'm just a lifelong musician, and playing bass with John and trying to do things that enhance these riffs that John and Nick come up with, and you know, trying to piece together their brain children in a way that produces a result we're all really happy with and proud to share with the public is just a way for me to keep growing as a musician and as a string player. So it's a great opportunity with these dudes to just keep moving forward as a musician. So that's what keeps me coming back.
I think one quick thing to add is once we started playing together, that energy and like, there's nothing like playing live, whether it's for 5 people or 500 people, at the end of the day. And then once people start hearing the music and like really getting behind it and believing it, that kind of puts wind back in the sail too.
Yeah. And coming from my perspective, so I used to play in a band called Final Redemption, and I actually got a chance to play with these guys, with Dead Syndicate, with Donnie and Tommy and John. Just ended up being like them more than the guys in my own band. Ended up becoming friends with them. They lived, more local. For me, it was more of I needed to get a career together, like something that's actually going to bring me a decent living. And so that's why I put music. I didn't really put it on a hold. I always played for fun. I always enjoyed playing guitar, but always, and Donnie can attest to this, I always said for years, I was going to get something together once I got my life situated, got my ducks in a row. And then like what John was saying, John's a phenomenal guitar player. I just had to give him a swift kick in the ass and motivate him a little bit to, we literally started just hanging out once a week and jamming, and that's slowly evolved into this snowball effect where we found Brandon, he's a killer drummer. Donnie, we've known forever. Tommy, we know he's a maestro on the fucking bass. So, and just snowballed into this. But that's from my perspective.
This is the last question I'm going to ask before we jump into the music portion of it, but just kind of hearing each of your guys' stories, it sounds like, from a mental health perspective, that music has been a way to kind of give you guys the passion and the grooves to kind of move forward. Can you guys talk about what creating music in Nine Realms has done for your mental health?
I mean, I get to scream, so that's a pretty good stretch to leave it right off the break. You know what I mean? But yeah, just really, I mean, the joy of making music that you enjoy, right? And then you get to do it with your brothers on top of it. It's like I said earlier, I can't think of too many more fun hobbies out there. Like, and you need that balance, right, from the career and the family and all that stuff to keep your mind right. So it's everything, man.
Yeah, definitely the creative aspect. I mean, I can't tell you. I probably look like a psychopath at the gym. So I'm constantly like doing air drums and coming up with guitar riffs in my head, listening to all these new bands and different, like the new Aborted album. I was just rocking out to that. Even my girlfriend was like, "You're really weird looking at the gym." You just sit there lifting weights, just like pretending I'm, got my mind in the whole music aspect. But for me,
she could have stopped it at "You're really weird looking," but go ahead.
Well, that's it. I'm lucky I got her. Yeah, no, it's always been a outlet. I mean, music, and for me personally, music and weightlifting and things like that. It's if I didn't do it, I'd probably be in jail.
It's comforting, but understandable. We get it.
Yeah, mental health. It's definitely a thing.
My dad got me started on drums, and then he died when I was 14, and that had so like every time I play drums, every time is super emotional for me. And I think anybody who's seen us play live can probably tell, like when I'm back there, that's the only thing I think about, and that's all that exists. But that is my outlet for that experience in life, is getting back there and just taking it all out on the drums.
Yeah, my situation's a little different than the other guys, where like I got into music at a really young age and it was my hobby. And then when I got out of high school, I made it my career, like my life work. So as soon as you make a hobby a job, it stops being your hobby. But in like the classical realm of things, being able to like literally let my hair down and turn the amps up and play like really fast aggressive music, it's it does give me an opportunity for music to be a hobby, something outside of my day-to-day job, even though I've made music the center point of my career.
Yeah, music is just good for everybody in the world, I think.
All right, John.
No matter how you look at it.
Music, good.
I find something to stress me out and piss me off, and every good thing in life, and everything has a balance. And for me, I've dealt with my own mental health struggles really bad for probably the better part of my adult life, and for me, really, when it comes down to playing music, it's just having the guitar in my hand and just playing it with it. Like I don't care if we're in his basement. I don't care if I'm on stage. I don't care if I'm by myself in my little makeshift studio in the basement. You know what I mean? It's for me, the fun is in the writing and the playing. I don't, everything else is just on, it's just extra. But that's the main point for me.
Well, you guys really earlier this year released a track called Mind, and
I love it. Everybody says I knew I should have spelled that thing different. So it's Mind. It's a Norse word. It's a play off of Mind and Mind too, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, it's even the dudes we recorded it with get it wrong. So it's all right. No worries there.
I only call it mine.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's been called. That is what it's been called now.
So it's the single that you guys have released this year. You guys have released scattered tracks and EPs over the last couple of years. When do you guys kind of feel like and this goes back to the earlier question of the landscape of music changing now? Streaming has kind of really changed the game to where you release singles and you don't really release EPs or full lengths anymore unless you're like a bigger time band. So for you guys, when do you guys feel like a track is done in terms of like writing both instrumentally and vocally?
It's a bit of a disjointed process, but see the word for it, man. I think it really is. It really is. Like, I think even up to in the studio, there's edits and stuff changing on the fly, and tightening some things up. But I mean, it's typically what Nick and John putting the meat of it together, and then working with Brandon and ironing all that stuff out and getting the right counts and grooves, and I'll just lay my stuff. My stuff always comes at the end, so I got the easy job. Let them do the hard work, and I just kind of come and clean up and add, what I think lyrically fits to like the grooves of the songs and stuff. But yeah, I know Brandon's probably got a ton to talk about, like the whole landscape of music and why singles and all that.
Sorry, go ahead, Brandon.
No, go ahead, Tom. It's all you done.
This is not the answer I want to give you about how we put tunes together. But
the truth shall set you free.
We are 5 adults and time is at a premium. So what I've witnessed that we do is not necessarily like write a tune and play a tune and shop a tune and develop it and like let it mature and go, yeah, this one's really ready to record now. I think we kind of retro engineer that, like reverse engineer it, where we go like, man, we haven't done anything relevant in some time, so we need to let's book a studio session. And then we go, oh shit, well, what are we going to record? And sometimes we bring things together. I think that was kind of the case with Mind, where it was like, we just haven't done anything in a little bit. So what's on deck? And Nick had this riff that he had brought to us. And Nick, John, and I think, put it together, polished it up enough that we could present it to Brandon in a way that he could add drums. And then we just kind of like pushed that into a recording session.
Yeah. And this with Mend, it was cool because we started working with Jay from Thy Will Be Done a little bit, producing it and like getting his input and sending it back and forth digitally. And we do a lot of digital stuff right now where like, you know, we have a Google Drive and we'll go in and I can take tracks that John and these guys upload and pull them down and start messing with stuff and see what clicks and what doesn't. And then to Tommy's point, kind of in the interest of time and what we all are like, yeah, like I can get down with that riff or that track, pick one and then just kind of run with it and see what happens. And sometimes it works out and we record it and push it out. And sometimes we're like, nah, it's back burner.
Yeah, I mean the practice jams usually always finalize it, right? Like when you get the meat of it and you start jamming it out and practicing, fleshing it out, you know, and everybody kind of looks at each other like, all right, that's the sound we're all keyed in on, and yeah, you kind of know like you want to put that one out. I mean, the EP we did was a little bit more organized because there's several tunes and mapping out studio and stuff. The singles kind of come up what feels the best and most complete at the moment, and yeah, not I wouldn't say it's exactly, maybe a little exaggerated from Tommy's perspective, but he's in the ballpark on it. It is reverse engineered in a way, and it's kind of just whatever works, and like you said, you go 6 months or something, pushing a year, 8-10 months, and you haven't made any noise. You play a show here and there, but you always want to keep reminding people that you can make good music, so you got to get it out there somehow.
And to answer your question more directly, I guess like the days of album cycles, they exist, but it's not as prevalent, nor is it as important for both like full-time working bands and then bands at our level. Like putting out singles is more cost effective. Very few people buy full albums anymore. Like it does happen, but when you went from who's making gold, silver, platinum albums to tracking scans, like that changed the landscape of the music business significantly. And it took the labels a long time to be able to figure out how they're going to still motivate bands, provide money. Like, can we still provide tour support, for example, is super hard to come by. So the singles thing, especially at our level, is just kind of, it's more cost effective.
So I gotta ask, because I am curious, given that we're almost into September, Mint has been out for a little bit now. Are you guys working on anything new? Do you guys have a plan to release anything by the end of the year?
That's the plan. Yeah, we got some studio time booked up into October. So
Nice.
hoping, by the end of the year or maybe right around, depends on how mixing and editing goes and stuff. Like I'd like to get at least something out by the end of the year, but we're recording at least 2. So hopefully if we could squeeze a 3rd, that would be nice. But yeah, we're about due for some new tunes out there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of this is the last question I'll end on. There's a lot of Norse around the band. Can you talk about where Nine Realms as a whole comes from?
Well, you look at the Viking up there.
That's really it.
Yeah, well, so that's
Nick,
the best.
I think Nick will go ahead and answer this one.
Yeah.
Let me get my horn. I'll be right back.
I'll give you some backstory while I was looking up the horn. Yeah. So it was options. The main option was Meth Gator, which is Nick's favorite band name ever.
I need to justify this. Like I said, getting this band started with John, the band originally started with just me and him getting together once a week, seasoning up some meat, throwing it on a smoker, having a couple brewskis, playing some riffs, and writing some songs. We were sitting out front one day, and I read an article about a sheriff in a local town in Florida was asking the local residents to not flush mess down the toilet because it was starting to get into the water system, and it was making the alligators more aggressive than they already are. Hence, Meth Gator. And I was like, that is an amazing name, and we should totally go with that because nobody was going to forget that. Like Cocaine Bear. Like, it's just something always stuck in your head.
Yeah.
Donnie came along because we started, getting members. We got Brandon on board, and it was always a running joke. And yeah, I was all about it, but I think Donnie, you verbatim said I am not screaming for a band called Meth Gator.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
And I was like, I understand.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
So
I told him, like a Halloween show or something. We can be like, we played this festival down in I guess outside of Petersburg, one with Brian, the Thrash and Splash thing, and for that one, since it's 100 billion degrees and everybody's kind of out of it anyway, we were Meth Gator for a show. Why not? But yeah, so it ultimately, to get to the point, like it's circled around to where you're just, you're trying to find a band name that resonates, something that's catchy and sounds good, but you can work with, right? And Nick is probably I'd say not probably, is like the biggest into the Viking culture and the history and the Norse gods and all that stuff. And it's fascinating, and I'm interested in it as well. So it's something that kind of fit at least a little bit of what we're interested in, and then it also kind of just checked the box of like attention grabbing name, so the lyrically, like it's not we're not like a theme band necessarily, so it might confuse some people sometimes, like we don't wear costumes, and we're not going to come out and be like I'm on a Marth on a Viking ship or anything, but it's just it's something that I think tickled a little bit of the historical interest and stuff like that, and then it just kind of like sounds cool as a band name, I thought, so we all kind of agreed to run with it.
You also too have a little bit more of like the renewed interest in it with pop culture things like the Vikings history show, and
Sure.
So there's obviously a restored interest in it. So it's a part of the conversation now for history nerds as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think most, at least 3/5 of us probably for sure have some Scandinavian blood, right? So there's something in there to at least kind of justify it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that
Well,
kind of goes to like the logo. Even I
Yeah.
came up with that idea on a napkin at work, and we actually, I'll make a little shout out to Nicole, this artist that I personally know, and I gave her this horrible sketch of an idea, and I was thinking like Blair Witch Project with like the sticks and all the little twine tied into it, and then she came back with the wolf's claw being the 9 and the runic R for realms, and just smash that
that's
together.
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the logo. But
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, we're a bunch of heathens,
Great.
and it's just kind of badass anyway. So it works good. It works good for us.
All right. Well, go check out Nine Realms. We'll provide a link for their music in the show notes below. If you guys want to experience their music and you guys live in the Richmond area and want to support our cause and our mental health education efforts, then click the links in the show notes below to pick up tickets for our Monsters for Mental Health fundraising event. Not only is Nine Realms playing, but our friends over at Wine and Warpaint to be a King, Betty Gray, and I Conqueror. Also, it's October 5th at another round here in Richmond, Virginia. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much. Where can people find you guys online? Where can we listen to the music and all the other fun stuff?
go ahead, Brandon.
Who wants run it
Come
down.
on, Brandon.
I mean, all the websites. So we have a link tree, but that has Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, you name it, we're on it. TikTok.
Usually like a Nine Realms Metal somewhere. If you Google Nine Realms Metal, we should pop first. But yeah, we're all the streaming platforms and everything, so it should be easy to find. And thank you for doing this thing. I know we were all. It was a quick, easy decision to jump on this thing because each and every one of us have lost someone close to suicide, and it's a mental health's a struggle. We know it, and it hits home. So it's our honor to really be involved, and anything we can help to raise some funds or awareness, it's a pleasure. So thank you.
That's awesome. And it's always like really humbling to hear bands like say that, or like any type of creators that we work with. It's not just they agree with the cause, and so I'm hoping that this is potentially the first of many times that the brands work together. So
I'd love to.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. But yeah, so go melt your face to Nine Realms. Click the links in the show notes below. And while we're on the topic of mental health, in the show notes below, you guys will also find links to our mental health resource library, including resources for general veterans, the LGBT community, domestic violence, and more. All of those are going to be in the show notes below. So until next time, remember to stay classy and keep on rocking.